Go. So we're going to look at the email stuff, and Daniel did the inbound mail handler, so we'll look at that first. If this is just like, what the heck are they talking about? That's okay. This is just crazy. But so where does it get hooked up in here? Let's see.
Yeah, there's an incoming mail function.
So it has this neat ability. It actually starts here. You have to add this to your app YAML, this inbound services bit. And if you do that, then you can send an email to, what are you using for the email?
It's the Twitter, or it's the app ID.
Yeah, so it uses something like,
it's anything at.
yeah, x at, you know.
App ID dot.
Apps, yeah. Dot, what is it, AppSpotMail. And if you do that, if you send an email to this address, like regular email using Gmail, send an email to this address, it gets handled by your Go app by having this in here. And so it's going to like make an HTTP request and send it to let me zoom this in a little. This route, this one right here, the special _ AH mail. So if you send an email to this account, it ends up coming to this, it sends an HTTP request to here, and he set up a route from this handle func to this incoming mail. So it'll call that function in his code. And you said that was in, is that in here?
97.
Okay, so we have the response regular request. So this is a regular HTTP handler func. Create context. Okay, you're deferring the close of the body.
It was in the documentation for emails. I wonder if there's something special for that or not. I don't know.
I don't know if you do or not. I think this is one of the IDs of the request body really shouldn't be a closer, but it is or something. But anyway, so you read the message, and this mail library is netmail. Okay. So the package mail here is net/mail, and that's part of regular Go. That's not an app engine thing. And so he does this read message. So in other words, the mail came in as the request body that was posted to this URL. And so that's he's trying to read the email, and then this parses it into a struct, which we could look at, but it's got this header, you get the edge. So this part is straightforward, and then this part is not, I think. Right?
It's once you get to the body, where it gets right there from the content type on, it's where it gets more tricky.
Okay. So getting the address works. So this would get test@example.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you get the profile associated with that email. That's not too hard. And then you come here and you have to parse the email. So you're trying to get the like, hello whoever, the actual content of the email. And then we'll look at that in a second, but you get that text and then you're going to create a tweet and post it. So you made an inbound mail handler that if I send an email to this address, it will make a tweet happen using my email address as the sender of the tweet. That's kind of cool. That's like an interesting capability. Does that mean you can reply to a?
No, if you reply, it puts in a whole bunch of his tweets too, because it's coming from the
Okay, so let's look at parse file. Anybody have any questions about this?
Yeah, so the message header get content type, that's getting just text. What would that be?
That would be similar to for normal request would be text/plain, text/HTML.
Okay.
So usually for emails, it's going to be I think multi-file / alternate or something.
And then why parse files your own function there?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, usually an email is going to be /alternative, but sometimes it can be text/plain or text/HTML. So I've got parse file will handle each of them, or a couple different cases.
Let's look at that. I'm sure this is terrible. This shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So okay, parse file. You give it. That's the app engine context.
That's the MIME type.
MIME type. And then
And
text encoding. Okay, and then a reader. This is the body by itself.
Yes.
Okay. So you get to parse the media type from the NME.
So this
So that's for the multi-part alternative or text plain or.
That's all.
Wow, Daniel.
So if it's multi-part alternative, oh, you use the built-in multi-part library.
It was still tricky.
Yeah, this isn't easy. Look at this. This is ridiculous. Didn't you say there was some library somebody had where it was like text, parsing emails of Go is not trivial. I blame email, actually.
Yeah.
So you get the parts, and this like breaks up a single message into multiple parts, and each of them is separated by this boundary. This is actually the same way we do uploading a file, when you upload a file in a form. But the HTTP library has a nice handling and makes that all go away. We don't have to worry about it. And here you're having to do it a little bit manually. But anyway, so you get this, and then it's a recursive.
Yes. Because each part may have its own. It has its own MIME type. So I'm actually just saying if the second part is not text plain, ignore it.
Okay. So you have this multi-part thing, and inside of it is a text plain thing. And you're calling that again, and then if you go here, and then in here you have, it could be base64 encoded, so you use the base64 encoder, or it could just be plain text and you do it that way. Okay. This is not quite as nasty. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. The only thing I might change about this is, I might say,
I could merge most of those two if else pretty closely.
yeah, I think before here I'd say like reader equal base64, I'm sorry, I'd have reader here and then I have reader equal base64 new decoder.
Yeah.
Give it in that itself, and then this code would be outside the if, because it's the same for both of them.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's good. So yeah, parsing the email that you get from the, that's funny that they just have the library. It's like, oh yeah, that's easy, and then they don't explain that you'd have to do this.
Yeah, they just point you at the net mail. It doesn't actually tell you anything about the multi-part.
That's ridiculous.
How did you know to do that?
I printed out what the body was. We kept saying multi-part, so I looked and saw if there was look for a multi-part library in GoDocs. There was a built-in one, so go to the library.
What do you call it? Handle incoming mail. That's it. Yeah. So I guess the point is that these parts were pretty straightforward. Getting who sent it and all that, but getting the actual message is not as straightforward. So if you weren't sending a message, you were just sending, hey, somebody sent us an email. I guess that would be easy. But you probably want to parse the message. So okay, cool. Now, Thomas, you actually did the @mention thing, right?
The what? Oh yeah.
Do you have that code on GitHub somewhere?
It should be. I think I
Yeah.
my
That's code we could hopefully have a better time understanding.
It took about 2 hours to write that code.
Well, it took about 2 minutes to write it, and 2 hours of trying to figure out what the heck to write.
Yeah.
That's huge.
okay. So mine is the Tommy
Like that?
Twitch. Yeah. Twitch.
Oops, Twitch.
Yeah, and then that's
What's summer boot?
Summer boot camp. Then no, it's not on my repository. Sorry.
Different reason.
It's probably Twitter project.
Ah. Okay, so let's look at.
It's in data.
Let's start in the handlers. Okay, so you have. Where do your handlers get hooked up?
I don't think I have particular programs. I think I just go to my data.
Oh, you have main go here. Okay. So this is good because you have it all by yourself, and so this is the routes that he has. He's using assets instead of public, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. And like I said, this kind of code is something you do a lot of copy paste. You could understand it, but it's not the kind of thing you can remember very easily. But you do the dir, then the file server, then the cert prefix, and then the handle. But these are the routes he has set up. These are very similar to the routes I had set up. He has the slash goes to home, log in, log out, and then he has these APIs broken up into separate. And in mine they were like collapsed. This is probably better because it's easier to understand. So the thing about the @mention, the requirement was that if you posted a tweet and it had @ and some username in it, we wanted to send an email with the tweet to that user. Okay, and so we don't actually add any new routes for that because we're going to modify an existing one, which is the creating a tweet. And you're doing that through Ajax, so that's going to be this one, right? Okay. So let's go to the handlers. We have in here tweet handler. So that's that guy. You get the user context, and then you switch on the method. So what's interesting is he's chosen to do the whole site as Ajax. So he's not using so much of the templates. Instead, he's drawing things with the JavaScript, and he's getting the like all the tweets and all that stuff via Ajax calls. So that's why he has a get. And so instead of mine just had a post because I'm just doing just the posting via Ajax, but he's doing all of it via Ajax. Okay. And so the get here is he calls them screens, but it's the same basic flow. Get them and then send them to the user. Everybody following the? Any questions about that?
I look at this and I feel like the dumb one in class. I do, like, I mean, Daniel, Thomas, I'm massively impressed, and I'm pretty sure you did like 80% of it for me.
I don't think so. No, you were doing this stuff.
I did all the Ajax one.
It's so. Yeah, the basic idea is the same as the handler I had. It's just this one's doing a little more. It's doing some extra things. And so maybe if we look at the JavaScript,
Before you go on, where is the Ajax? I'm sorry.
it's not.
Okay.
Ajax is in JavaScript.
Okay.
This is the thing on the server responding to the Ajax call. So if we look at the JavaScript, screen button, on click, post to API tweets, right? And that's what we're seeing there. And there's a get in here somewhere. Get tweets. Get API tweets, right? And then when you finish getting them, get the response and say loop JSON, which is somewhere here. There it is. So you go through each one of these will be a tweet, right? And you say create tweets, give it the message, username, and time. And so create tweets just does that. So yeah, here we're building the
That's building the actual tweets on the page.
And then
yeah.
So that's all JavaScript. The JavaScript is go fetch it from the server and then render it as HTML. And the fetching is done this way. Get to /API/tweets. That corresponds in the Go code with tweet handler. And the reason why it's tweet handler, right, is because inside of here we have it as a route. /API/tweets goes to tweet handler. And so that's how we found that. And then in here we have tweet handler. And so the get, that's the method. So when you do open and you pass get, that's what this is. It's the method. And then the URL part is the /API/tweets. We already know we're there because that's how we got here. So we know that this is a get for tweets, right? Get a list of tweets. Tweets is, let's get to it. And so this is the data call, but otherwise, it's pretty straightforward, right? Get them, encode them. And so this is a JSON API, so we respond with a JSON response. Okay. But that's for getting. So for getting, we don't do any. We didn't have to modify anything there. For posting is where we have to modify, because the way it works is when I submit a tweet and it has an at mention, then I'm going to do an email. Not when I read a tweet. So it's when I submit the tweet. That's what the post is for. All right, so let's walk through this. You get your profile. This is the current user. So I have a user. This is a Google user, right? And Google user has an email and has like isadmin and other things. But it doesn't have a username. So we store the username as a profile inside the data store, keyed by the email. So we take the email and find the username for that email. Okay. And so I'm taking the current user and getting their username. And then we're going to decode the tweet. So this is coming from the user. Okay, so the user might send in, they might send in text. Test. We're going to decode that into a string. This is a type struct. Right, and then it's going to have a text string. So we have this type, and when I say var string, it creates an instance of this type, but with everything in it set to the 0 value. So by default, the screens, email, and text, and all that stuff, whatever else is in here, will all be empty. Okay. When he does decode, he fills in those properties from the user, and so the user sent in the text. So after running decode, we have text filled in. Okay. So now stream.text is equal to test. Okay. At this point, does that make sense? That's after the JSON decode. So it took this and filled in this, okay? That's what the JSON decode is there. Take the body, this is the body, decode it into the screen, decode it into this guy, and now stream text is equal to test, because we filled it in. If there's an error, how can I get an error? How can this ever happen?
If it doesn't get the...
If they send bad JSON data.
Yeah, if they send some bad data, right? They don't have text, or they have some properties we don't understand, or they just send in text. That isn't going to work either. So it has to be JSON. And that's why we got to check the error, because the user, we can't trust the user can send us bad data. So that's what we're checking there. And then we assign the time to now. So this means we also don't trust the user to send us the time of the tweet. So this way users can't post tweets back in time. Okay? Because that's not right. You don't want to allow your user to do that by saying, no, I meant to tweet that last week. You can't do that. So we set the time for them, right? And so we say time.now. And then we set the username. So you can't do a tweet for somebody else, right? And so that's why we set the username. And we got the profile up there. But we don't trust them to set the right thing. And then we also set email, etc. So the point is, when you take in content like this, you're going to have some set of properties that you get from the user and other set of properties that you sort of have to enforce yourself. And these are ones we're enforcing. We're making the server do it. The server is a trusted environment. The server, we can run code there and feel confident that it's safe. But the client is not trusted because they can do whatever they want. They can change the JavaScript, they can post weird data. And so we don't trust the client, but we can trust the server because this is my code. This Thomas. It's our code. So, make sense? So we've decoded it. Now we have we made a screen that has all this stuff in it, and we want to put it in the data store. That's what you call create screen. And then after that's done, he's just sending it back out. So the result of posting is the screen itself, except it has all these other things filled in now. And so that might be useful for the user. So you send it back out with JSON encoder response and then encode. Why the sleep?
I meant to delete that, I think. I think it was for refreshing the page or something, but I forgot to take that out.
No, there's a good reason for it. The sleep is because the data store is eventually consistent, and sometimes people's local dev servers like mimics that by not making. So what happens is, if you create it and then immediately refresh, you won't see it. It won't show up till a second or two later, and so the sleep is like hacking around that. So that's why I was in there. Okay, so then there's the we did that's not it. But so we did all the post stuff, right? But we haven't looked at where it actually created it. So let's look at that. Create screen. Okay. Here it is. Okay, so we created an incomplete key. What's an incomplete key?
That's where when you put it into the database, it generates a
That's right.
key for you.
That's right. So it will generate an integer ID when you put something in. Okay. So you're saying, hey, App Engine, I don't know what to call this. You come up with a name for it, and you generate it. Okay. That's what you use the incomplete key for. And then you do a put. You take the context that was passed in, and the key which we just created. Well, we didn't. We made the incomplete key, and now we're going to fill it in. And then the thing you want to put at that key, which is the screen. Okay. Do the error checking. And then now this is here's the new bit. Okay. So before it would have just returned nil, but now we're actually going to look for the mentions inside of it. Okay. So let's see if I can walk through this. If it contains an @ symbol, so if inside the message there's this @ symbol, then first get the user, then get the profile for the user, and then send them an email. That seem reasonable? Okay? So if there's no @ in here, don't do this at all. If there is an @, then go find that user, and then get their profile, and then send them an email. Okay? Everybody follow the logic? We haven't talked about how he got the user, but let's just say he gets the user somehow, and then he gets a profile for the user. Why does he need the profile for the username? To get their email, because the username doesn't tell you their email. You have to go find their email, and then you can send them an email. So let's look at scan string, this bit here. Somewhere in here.
So Thomas, did you write this, or you said Caleb wrote this?
No, he
I wrote this part.
But no, like you wrote all this, or
Like
what was
he
that?
helped me a lot with the like passing it from the JavaScript to like the posting and the getting, because that was kind of like hard to figure out at first, and then building like some other like functions like the getting a profile and stuff like that. But like this part of it, like I figured out this thing.
So scan string, remember split, he's splitting on spaces. And then he's looping over every word, right? And then saying, if it starts with an @ then get the rest of it. So if I have Mary was someone. It's going to break it up into words, so that's the first word, that's the second word, that's the third word. This word starts with an @ it has the prefix @ and so it's going to get this, so it's going to get this bit here. So that gets me the user. Does that make sense?
So what if they just want to put an @ in front of any word in there?
So the definition of @ is such that that isn't going to work because, if I do @ someone else with no space, well, that's a completely different username, right? So that still works.
Oh, right, but it only catches the first on the scan.
It only does one. It only does one.
Well, if you grab that as a username and then you go look it up to get their email to let them know they didn't mention and there is no user at that or no email, you just say, okay, throw that away.
Yeah,
Right, but if you're trying to email the second @ mention, it won't catch it.
that's right. If you had 2 mentions, it would only email. Which one would it email?
Well,
That's
the
the
first,
First one.
Or the second one.
It emailed the last one.
Yeah.
like if
Because I tried
somebody,
it and it only would get the second one. Like I tried it in a Go playground and it would only get the second one.
and
Right. Which Which makes sense, right? Because it's doing it in a loop. So the first one would set user, and then by the time we got to the second one, it would reset.
Oh, it doesn't return what it finds, what
Yeah.
it returns at the end, okay.
So it would always get the last mention,
Got it.
but it would still get a mention.
Yeah.
The only place I could see this not working is if you did something like exclamation point. Because then it would think that the exclamation was part of the username.
Yeah.
But let's just ignore that. But no, I think this is great. This is totally working. This is getting the username out of the. And you did this, and we haven't covered regular expressions, so you did this the hard way and figured it out. That's fantastic because there's a much easier way than if we had talked about. And so this is great. Any questions about this? What we just talked about? Okay. So send mail itself is actually really easy, and that's kind of funny, is that sending the email is the easiest part of this exercise, which sounds like it would be the hardest part, right? But because the API does it for us, you just create a message, and the sender here is the current user's email, and then the subject is pre-canned, and the body is pre-canned, and then you just send. I think you're missing the...
I fixed it, but I haven't uploaded it.
Oh, okay. So this would be mention profile.email.
Yeah, the sender is the admin at whatever the app spot is.
Oh,
And
okay.
then 2 is the user's email,
Okay.
or the profile's email.
Yeah.
Profile email.
But otherwise, I mean, you just call send, right, and it does it all the work for you. So that's pretty straightforward. Any questions about that? Everybody understand email? So like I said, sending emails is a whole lot easier than receiving them, which is fine because you're unlikely to need to receive emails. That's kind of weird. There's another way to solve receiving emails. Do you guys know what that is? Teach you a dirty little secret of Silicon Valley. They're called interns. You hire an intern, they read emails and do stuff. You don't have to write a program for that.
They would work for Twitter though.
Laugh, but that's a huge part of almost every business. Okay. So the next thing we want to work on is not, I'm not going to do anything new.
So just 1 second before we start up, Shin, you want to stop it and restart it? 'Cause we got the next thing.